Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone enjoyed Rebecca's keynote as much as I did. Extremely inspiring, and congratulations on your son entering into the skilled trades as well. It's very often we don't see them following their mother's footsteps into that regard. So, really excited to hear that. And wow, your story was truly inspirational, and it really took me back a few steps. So, congratulations on all your accomplishments, Rebecca. Well done. Just before I get into the details of our panel this morning, I just want to note that while we are meeting virtually, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples of all the lands we are on today across Canada. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility to improve relationships between nations and to improve our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. So with that, I would like to introduce my panel that we have here this morning. I'm very excited, a great group of ladies here today. We have Jessica Bannister joining us from Vancouver, British Columbia today. Elizabeth Buckmaster is joining us from Hatch, and Natasha Ferguson is joining us from here in Toronto. So I'm going to start off today by asking each of our panelists to provide a little bit of background about themselves. So basically, obviously your name, organization, but really a little brief about your background and what drew you to the profession that you're in today, whether it's in the skilled trades directly or whether it is, working in supporting the recruitment side of things. So maybe I'll start with you, Beth, if that's okay.
Sure, that's great. Thanks so much, Melissa. And I just want to say thank you to be invited today. International Women's Day is one of my favorite days of the year. And I'm really so happy to be spending it with this amazing group of women who I really do have a deep respect for. I would like to acknowledge that I speak to you today from the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples. As mentioned by Melissa, my name is Beth Buckmaster, and I'm the Director for Client and Stakeholder Relations at the Power Group, for the Power Group at Hatch. And I'm responsible for helping Hatch grow our brand awareness and market share in emerging industries. Hatch is a global engineering and consulting firm. We have over 9,000 people globally, and we predominantly serve the mining and metals, infrastructure, and energy sectors. And I have spent a good chunk of my career supporting Hatch's nuclear group, and 2 years ago was asked to start supporting our hydrogen group, which I have absolutely loved doing. I am also part of the diverse and inclusive design team here at Hatch, and we are helping our clients design their projects and facilities to be as diverse and inclusive as possible. And this is a great highlight of my career. Interestingly, while I was finishing my degree 20 years ago, it's hard to believe 20 years ago, but I actually got a job with a construction management firm, and I worked at site stamping and folding drawings during the day while I spent my nights studying for my BA. And while I spent 2 years at different construction sites, when I was reflecting for this panel in preparation, I was thinking, I think I only ever really saw one woman that entire 2 years, and one woman who was in the trades that whole time. So not a lot. And then once I graduated, I actually went to work at the firm's head office, where the numbers were better than site, but still had some work to do. So it does kind of feel like this full circle moment getting to participate in this panel and in this event today, and to learn from the panelists and to see that progress is actually happening, which is really thanks to many of the panelists today. And it may seem slow, and these things always are, but coming from 20 years ago, I really can say it does make, the 20 years has made a difference. And I think we will see, and I really hope we'll see progress go even quicker in the years to come. And since those days 20 years ago, I have worked my way up in my career in many different roles, predominantly in the marketing and business development areas. I've been with Hatch for 12 years, and I work in the clean energy sector, and I just love the work. I feel like it gives me purpose, and as the saying goes, it gets me out of bed every day. I really do love that I'm able to, in a teeny tiny way, help make the world a better place for future generations. And the clean energy industry really does tend to trend a little bit higher when it comes to women hires. So I get to see a lot of really smart, capable, and super dynamic women do well in their careers. I get to see them grow and succeed. And I think it's really one of the reasons I'm really drawn to the work that I do. So I really love watching women kill it. On a personal note, I am a mom of two young teenagers, a girl 14 and a boy 13. I like to spend my non-working time being active, whether it's hitting the gym with my son, going for a run, or walking my dog. I love to read, watch F1, and I live in Niagara, so I like spending time at the local Niagara wineries with my partner, David. That's a little bit about me. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Beth. The wineries, that piqued my interest, of course. Thank you so much. Very diverse background, and it's really great to see that you are making a contribution to the future generations in what you're doing at Hatch. So congratulations on that. Looking forward to hearing more about some of the initiatives that you're working on as we progress with the panel. I'm going to go over to Jessica now, Jessica Bannister. Jessica, over to you. You want to give us a little bit of an intro about yourself and how you got to where you are today in your profession.
Sure. Thanks, Melissa. Hello, everybody. It's so wonderful to be here on this panel or this event with so many dynamic leaders. I would like to acknowledge that I live, work, and play on the unceded and traditional territories of the Coquitlam, the Katzie, and the Tsleil-Waututh. So right now I am a level 4 HVAC apprentice here in British Columbia. And my story is that my dad was always a refrigeration mechanic my whole life. My brother followed in his footsteps right after high school. It was just natural for him to do so, and he's 5 years younger than I am. But it never even crossed my mind that I could do what my dad did. And I really, truly believe that it was because there's no representation. I had never, ever seen a person that looked like me, a woman, doing what my dad did. And I think that career just never even crossed my mind. He never approached me and said, "Hey, Jess, do you want to try this?" And I never even considered saying, "Hey, Dad, can I try this?" And now in my mid-30s, I am an apprentice, and I'm just loving working in the field. I had no idea how much I would enjoy working with my hands, getting dirty, fixing equipment, solving problems, meeting all these people. And so now I advocate for women in the skilled trades, for girls to consider a career in the skilled trades, and for women considering career changes to consider the the skilled trades. I'm very, very active on social media. My handle is HVAC Jess. I'm also currently the president of an organization called Women in HVAC Are Canada. It's actually our 2nd anniversary today. They're having an in-person event in Vaughan, Ontario, which I'm having FOMO not being there, but it's been really wonderful. The reception that we've had, everybody in the industry seems to be so curious and interested in involving us right now. And I think the landscape has changed in the last, say, 5 or 10 years, where I don't think that was the case back then. So we're definitely making progress. It is slow, but we're getting there. And I think if we just keep pushing this message out to everybody, not just women, but everybody, I think we're going to be able to fill that skills gap that is looming. Yeah, that's about me.
Thank you so much, Jess. I wrote down a couple of comments that you made, and I'm going to circle back to you on those as we get into our discussion. Natasha, great to have you here today as well. Welcome, and very excited to hear your story as well. So please share with us your dynamic pathway into the profession you have today.
So I actually started in corporate communications, funny enough. But I touched the skilled trades at a very young age. My father actually is a refrigerator, fixed appliances, and an overall contractor. So, at the age of 5, 6, I was on job sites with my dad. Believe it or not, I can actually fix a fridge now and other appliances, and also, wallpapering and painting with my dad. And I have pictures of myself with, the old school way of wallpapering. So I went into corporate communications, but it wasn't until I met my husband in 2012 that I introduced into the trades again. He was a roofer. And so I really like this business because I thought, what house doesn't have a roof? I saw it as a huge business opportunity. And I was also looking for a change as well. We talk about change, and that was a huge sort of step for me. I left the industry that I was in. And one of the reasons why I did was because it was super taxing, and I really didn't like what I was doing anymore. And so he put me up on a roof, and I never looked back. We started a company, and he left and went to the union, and I continued with what I was doing. And then 2 years later, I would open up a landscaping architecture company. And then 3 years after that, I would open up a renovation and build company, just kind of amalgamating everything and calling it Ethel Fox Construct, named after my late mother and my youngest daughter, Fox. And really for me, the way I kind of found this journey was it was through media and through other people telling me that nobody else was doing this. And so today I'm a person, I'm a woman who is one of the only women running a full service construction company, and also a woman of color, which is a pretty big thing for me. I've made it my business to advocate for women in the trades. I'm a co-founder of an organization called The Women's Work, which is the first all-woman trade school, a skilled trade school. And it's really super exciting for me because I've been talking about this for the last 3 years. It was something that I spoke to my mother about before she passed on. And we started this last November, and today I have 60% of my incumbents, my employees, are women. I have myself 7 trades under my belt. So I'm a tile setter. I'm also part of the local 27 Carpenters Union as a journey person. And I'm a framer, tile setter. I install patio stone. My hands are very rough, but I still have my nails. And I really enjoy the trades. I love to build. I do amazing work. So does my team. And really for me, creating a safe space for women, safer than it was for me, and kind of alleviating those challenges is so important to me. And I have been able to connect with some amazing people in the industry, both male and female. And why I'm here and so excited to speak to everybody is not just to share my story, but to share what the future could look like for women in the skilled trades. So thank you for having me.
Wow. Thank you, Natasha. That was fantastic. And again, I picked up a lot. I'm getting a lot of notes already. I already have a page, and all we did were intros of things to go back to. So we're not going to have any issue filling our time here today. And I'm sure there will be questions from our audience. That's our participants that are out there as well today. I'm going to jump into our kind of formulated questions, and then I'll circle back to some of the other comments that I've heard you make that really intrigued me, and I'd like to revisit some of those. But, the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum, of which Rebecca is the current chair woman, and it's so great to see you there, Rebecca. I spent about 10 years on the Canadian Apprenticeship Forum Board of Directors in a previous career. So very happy to see you in that role. But they do some fantastic research right across the country. They're really the only national research body that studies apprenticeship across Canada. They released a national strategy for supporting women in the trades back in 2020. And the strategy noted that there's a lot of additional work that still needs attention, around many different areas about bringing women into the skilled trades. So this question is for each of the panelists, and I'll probably maybe start with you, Beth. What do you see as things that an employer needs to do to prepare a workplace for women when they come into the workplace?
Yeah, so at Hatch, I would say we could absolutely back that strategy. As I mentioned in my opening remarks there, at Hatch, we have this capability where we're helping our clients develop diverse and inclusive projects and facilities. And so what we do is we work with our clients, we brainstorm design opportunities, and we have the modeling to show this return on investment for design. And what we have found through our modeling is that there's always a positive return on investment when it comes to making your facilities as diverse and inclusive as possible. So some of the design opportunities might be a bit easier. So let's say to model. So let's say, for example, we're going to be placing valves in locations that everybody can reach them. Obviously, there's going to be greater productivity versus calculating something such as a social benefit. But when it does come to social benefits, there's also positive return on investment. So let's say we're putting more washrooms for women in a facility, that creates an opportunity for a greater hiring pool, which we know that we need at the moment. We need all the help we can get. There's also employee retention and less costs on training. So what we have found through our modeling is that there is a business case to making these facilities and these project sites more inclusive for women and other, more inclusive for all, but and women as well. So it comes down to a bottom line thing there as well.
Thanks, Beth. I really like hearing the positive return on investment piece. Is that something that the company is measuring as a KPI overall when you're working on this type of strategy for inclusivity within the organization?
Well, so at Hatch, we do have KPIs around that, but what we're here is what we're actually doing for our clients. Our clients are coming to us saying we want to make our facilities or our projects inclusive, and that is because we're seeing ESG very a priority for a lot of our clients at the moment, and this is one way to do it. So it's been really neat to see. It's been really neat at Hatch for taking what we've been doing internally and then helping support our clients with it. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic work. Thank you so much. I'm going to move over to you, Jessica. Same question. Based on kind of that study that CAF has done, saying more work, and I don't know if we'll ever have all the work done by any means, but from your perspective, what do you see as things that an employer needs to prepare the workplace for women that are coming in?
Well, Beth touched on it, and so did Rebecca, but washrooms, it's such a basic thing. And sometimes I'll go into a factory to work on a machine and I'll need to use the washroom, and I'll have to leave the factory and go up to the offices to use the women's washroom because there's no men's washroom on the floor. And personally, if there was like a unisex washroom, I don't care. Like it doesn't matter, but we need to be able to have facilities that include everybody. And then also, I'm not sure how to do this on a large scale, but we really need to change the culture in some of the companies. So when we bring a woman in, and it tends to be a token woman, is one of them. We need to change the culture so that when that woman comes in, it's not like she's not focused on like, oh, there's a girl here. What is she doing here? We need to make it so that it's just normal and natural for us to be there. And that is one of the things that I post so much on social media, is to be seen, so that when by girls choosing careers and by men and boys and men who are already in these careers, so that we're just another normal worker. We're not, oh, the token girl. So I'm not sure how we're going to change that. I really think that's going to take a long, long time. But as long as we keep talking about it and have the conversation going, I think it's going to change eventually. But yeah, the culture needs to change.
Jessica, you make a really great point about the token women. or the token girl on or female on the site. I've spent 30 years working in trades and apprenticeship myself, and 30 years ago, you were the token woman. There was just no ifs, ands, buts about it. So I get that. I think there's been a bit of a culture shift. Things are coming around, which takes me over to Natasha with 60% of employees who are women, which is really
Yeah.
exciting. And you're certainly paving a pathway forward. Huge advocate. I can see that. Natasha, what about you? What do you see as things that an employer needs to do to prepare a workplace for women? And I know you're an employer, and you probably have a lot of examples of things that you've done. What about when you go out to work for a client, perhaps?
Right. So, I mean, we're usually on site, and if it's not on a commercial site, it's residential. So the bathrooms isn't one of the things that the hugest challenges that we face. It's mostly mindset. And what you mentioned, Jessica, the mindset and changing the culture. I take back to a story where a professor at a really well-known school was teaching trades, and there were 30 students in the class, and one of them was a girl, and she had to do co-op placements, and the professor called me and said, I got everybody placed except this one female, and she said that actually one of the companies said point blank, we don't hire women. And so you can imagine, I was just like, what do you mean? You can't just say that. And so this just really lends to the mindset of what they think, that we can't lift, 50 pounds. Obviously we're not men, and our bodies are structured differently, but there are different ways that you can position your body. I actually came up with 7 ways that you can position your body to certain materials. And I find that these 7 sort of points I passed on to women that I know in the industry, and they work. Like nobody's going to ever ask a woman to pick up a 200-pound thing when a man can't even pick up a 200-pound. We have to be realistic about this. I've had plenty of men and women on my site, and the women are outwitting them in strength. So I think it's culture, but also mindset. And I tell this to a lot of the women that, listen, we can't expect for an entire industry to change for us. It also begins with our mindset as well, and speaking up, and really speaking to, like, if you go on site and there isn't something that's there for you that should be, then you should speak up. And I find that's what a lot of us don't do. I unfortunately speak all the time. So I make sure that my job sites are, female and male friendly. And through my organization, nonprofit, that's what I'm focused on. I'm focused on that career piece, and how do we connect with the other construction companies. I don't see other construction companies as my competition. I see them as a way to get more women into. So how do we do this? How do we educate these companies on how to engage with women, how to change their culture so that it's more inviting for us? I think that's the biggest thing for me, is just creating that inclusive sort of feeling, because when you get on a site, and I can speak to this specifically, you have the male counterparts constantly. I still have some of my male employees will be like, Tasha, don't do that. It's too heavy. And I just give them a look, and they stop what they're doing. And I have to pull them over to the side and said, look, this lady, she's here working just like you. You don't need to ask her if you could pick it up. She'll ask you for help if she needs it. So I think it's, I totally agree with both of you, but yeah, Jessica, for sure, it's about the culture.
Thanks, Natasha. That was really inspiring to know the work that you're doing as both an employer and also running a non-for-profit. And I'm hoping there's some employers on today hopefully we have some gentlemen that have joined us as well that, you know, because really, if they're championing it as well, that it almost makes more of an impact sometimes in the workplace.
That's
So,
what I'll start. Sure.
yeah, yeah. So I'm going to stick with you, Natasha, because when we had our conversation on Monday, you had mentioned something to me that was, or to the group, that I found pretty fascinating, and it's around the work hours and making adjustments. So the second question I had today is really around what do you see as maybe policies that need to be considered when trying to attract and hire women?
So,
So,
you know,
yeah.
going back to that last question, that's what I also forgot. Daycare. No woman who has 1 or 2 children is going to get up and be at a job site for 7 in the morning. Do you know what I mean? Even if they get out of and you get off at 2 o'clock, your kids don't leave school until 3:30. I get the whole concept, but things have changed. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and I do not play around with picking her up from school. If there's something that needs to be done, I'll shut down my whole company for the day. And you know, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing more of, you know, people not women not being able to take on these positions because they have kids and they're not able to manage. I think the work hours are important. I think that whether you're starting at 7 in the morning or you're starting at 9 or 10, the work is getting done at the end of the day. And you know, I was a single mother, and I remember how difficult it was. And you know, I was also on social assistance, and I remember how difficult that was. And I remember thinking to myself, if there was a program, you know, that I was interested in taking, it would have taken me out of that, you know, situation. And there are many women that were like me and that are still like me. So when we think about, you know, making it comfortable, changing the work hours, you know, daycare, you know, opportunities. You know, I was talking to Mr. Trudeau about, I had an opportunity to meet with him, and I was talking to him about daycares and how we need more daycares and they need to be more flexible. And there are people who, you know, need the funding to help them to pay for daycares, because without daycare, how can you go to work? So I think that's a huge thing for women. And you know what, I'll say it for men too, because there are a lot of single fathers as well. There are a lot of, you know, 2-parent homes that are working. And nobody's going to get up at 7 in the morning to go on a job site for 7, because I don't even get up to do that. Yeah. So I hope that kind of gave you guys an understanding.
No, that's great, Natasha. You know, as you're talking, I'm thinking about, you know, I was recently just down south, down in Florida, and, you know, they do the road work at night, so it doesn't disrupt the traffic during the day. So, very common
I don't know
practice.
why they don't do this here.
I bet everybody's
I
thinking that
always
right about
wonder,
now
like,
if they're on the 401.
yeah. So I think we've gotten into a place where, you know, there's no set way of doing these things. It's all about you as a company, as a CEO. You can carve your company the way that you want it to, and so can all of these big organizations to fit. I mean, we had the pandemic and everybody was working in an office, and now everybody, I would say still 70% of people are working from home. So things can change, and situations change and environments change, and we need to be able to change with that, both as being on the woman's side, but also the industry as well.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much for your comments, Natasha. I see we're starting to get some questions coming up in the Q&A, so going to be excited to get to that portion a little later in our session. Jessica, over to you. What do you see as perhaps some policies that employers need to look at putting into the workplace to help attract women to their workplaces?
I think, I'm not sure about attract, but maybe retain is, I think we just need to have more equal opportunities. And that in the way of like promotions and advancements in your career. And that also speaks to not only pushing women forward just because they're, again, the token woman, they need that representation in their company, but just equal representation, equal opportunities. So if something comes up, a role or position that comes up, just be fair. Don't give anyone a better advantage over another just because of their gender. I think Natasha had some really great points about work flexibility, times, and not everyone has the same schedule anymore, and times are changing. I think even we're talking about a 4-day work week now. Things are changing, and we need to keep up with those changes in order to keep up with the demand that we have for our roles and everything. So yeah, I think my policy change would be equal opportunities for advancement in our careers. Yeah, I'll keep it short and brief.
That's an excellent point. And I think back to Rebecca's earlier keynote, she's been very fortunate to have those opportunities, and out there telling people her story is really going to break ground, I think, with other employers realizing that there is phenomenal talent in many women out there that and we do a good job, damn it. I don't care what anybody says. We do a good job.
And not only that, but we're passionate. Like once we realize what this is, we're passionate about it and we're excited about our careers. So
yeah. I'm running the largest apprenticeship agency in Canada in Ontario as a woman, and I think it's the first time it's happened here in Ontario. So I'm pretty proud of that for the province. And excited and fortunate that the opportunity was made available because this government is open-minded as well, and they've seen the expertise that was there. So that it's great. Thank you so much, Jessica. That's really great input. That opportunity for promotion and advancement is often overlooked when it comes to women. But I just seeing our group here today. This is a group of speakers that they're paving the road. So Beth, over to you. Same question around the policy piece. I know how advanced your organization is at Hatch. I think your inclusivity is pretty good at your organization. So maybe you could share with us some of your thoughts and what's actually happening in your world with regards to policy development and change to attract more women.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. Yeah, so Hatch started their D&I journey back in 2015. So we've had a lot of best practices and policy put in place. So really happy to share with everybody today, and maybe people can grab some items that they think might work at their organizations. So, but before I get into some of our best practices, I just really want to take a moment to talk a little bit about why we have done it at Hatch and maybe why others should consider this. So first of all, to us at Hatch, and I think everybody on the call today, it's the right thing to do. And so with all of that said, it also translates into, for us at Hatch, we found that diversity of thought has been incredibly beneficial to our clients. We are here to help solve the toughest challenges, and by having diversity of thought, we have found that has bringing different solutions and different ideas to solve these challenges. So it's been incredibly beneficial. In my industry, the clean energy industry, there is so much work to be done to help fight towards climate change. And as the industry says, we just absolutely cannot get it done with half of the population sitting on the sidelines. And that's not just engineering or comms or whatever it is. It's also, we need to electrify the grid. We need to get the grid modernized. There's all sorts of roles for women to be playing in this. If you need another reason to hire more women, we've seen numerous studies showing publicly traded companies, because that's where the data is easy to track from, is with these traded companies. We're seeing that those who have women in leadership actually have better bottom lines. So you'll see here with my answers today that there's a theme here that it makes good business sense to have women in these industries. Okay, so that's why we should do it. So I'd like to, kind of go through some of the best practices that we're doing at Hatch at the moment. We have a stated enterprise-wide diversity goal for 40% or higher female representation at all levels and regions. And so how do we get there? So one such way is that we have a policy where we have to hire at least 50% women new grads. So at Hatch, we hire 600 new grads globally. So really, we're looking at finding 300 smart and capable women across the globe, and it is fairly easy to do. Not hard to do that. And of course, I'm sure you can all imagine the great benefits to that. So we're creating this great pipeline of women who are gaining experience. We're able to put them on our client projects, and our clients, by the way, are asking for this. And eventually, we're creating this great pipeline of senior leadership to eventually, be up there and running Hatch one day. We have some best hiring practices. So all of our hiring managers have to go through unconscious bias training, obviously to eliminate the unconscious bias. For our job descriptions, we've removed all gender tones. We have a tool called Textio that has looked at all of our job descriptions, and it makes them more gender neutral. So for example, you can take driven by and change it to inspired by. So by making these more gender neutral job descriptions, we've actually found that it has created a greater pool of candidates with women. For our interview slates, we for every offer that we make, we have to show that a third of the finalist interviews were women, or else the offer isn't approved. And so get this, what we've discovered, it's not just a checked box here, that when we've been bringing in more women to interview, we found that they're actually a great fit for the role and then a really great fit for the culture at Hatch. So it's actually a proven tool for us. And then all of our interviews, we make sure that they're balanced, and we always have at least one woman, sorry, not balanced, we have at least one woman on the interview panel. And another way we found helpful to attract women and keep them at Hatch is we have annual pay review audits, and we fix any discrepancies. And then when parents take maternity or paternity leave, they still receive their annual pay raise. So again, we found that this is both a great way to attract women into Hatch, but it's also a great retention tool and an equal investment. We find we're investing in those parents taking the leave, but they're also, the investment is back into Hatch, and there's some loyalty built there. So all this to say, we find we've been tracking our numbers, and these best practices are working for us at Hatch. When we started our D&I journey back in 2015 in Canada, we sat at 28.2% women in our Canadian offices and 26.7% globally. And now today in Canada, we are currently sitting at 37% women and 32% globally. So considering, 18% of all licensed engineers in Canada are women, we feel like we're making some good progress there.
I think you're making fantastic progress, and I'm glad to see the number in Canada is higher than globally. Not that there's a competition.
Yeah, I like it too.
But it is nice to see, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the CAF report just because when I was looking at things to bring forward as some kind of qualitative research to reflect back on when we're answering these questions. They talk about anti-bullying and anti-harassment initiatives that need to be implemented in the workplace. So can you talk to me a little bit about your experience? Have you experienced that? And if you haven't, maybe you've seen it, and specifically geared towards women in this case, although I think it's more of a global issue, but more interested to see how those types of things have been handled from your perspective or experience, if you've experienced it. If not, that's fantastic. But if so, would be great to know what happened in your world. So Jessica, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure, thanks, Melissa. So this particular topic, luckily, is not something I can speak to. And I think that it's maybe because I am a little bit sheltered working with my family. I work with my dad and my brother almost every day, like physically with them. So whether I know it or not, and whether they know it or not, I think they are protecting me in some kind of way. And I feel very lucky and grateful for that. I haven't had a single bad harassment, bullying instance. I know that that is not the case with everybody, and I really think that companies and employers and even people, journeymen and everybody you work with should have a zero tolerance policy about that. I think there's still people, they'll make comments to each other, or they'll laugh about it and make a joke out of it, and I think it's really important for us to stop that right away, so that that kind of language is not acceptable, so that it won't continue. I keep saying this over and over again. I think we've still got a very, very, very long way to go in this respect. But again, I think we have really started the ball rolling. So yeah, there's not much I can say about it because I've had a really great experience. And I also think that it's because that there has been a shift in the mindset in the industry in the last 5-10 years. I think I wouldn't have the same conversation with you right now if this was 10 years ago. So things have changed, whether we can pinpoint what they are or not. Change is happening, but it is slow.
Sometimes changing policy can be like pushing rope, but more and more what I have been seeing since I've been working in Ontario for the last year and a bit is that zero tolerance. It's zero tolerance across the board. So, which is really great to see, because there can't be tolerance, or it'll never go away, right?
If you allow one to slip, they're just going to keep coming.
That's right. That's right. Natasha, what about you? What's been your experience?
Awful. I mean, it's different for me because I'm in the field, I'm on site, and it's construction and everybody's cursing and swearing. I can tell you that when my husband used to go to his jobs, when he was working for other companies, I was appalled by the way that they treat each other. It's really bad. And so when I started my business and when I really started to take it seriously, the biggest thing for me was like, I don't care if you're male or female. I don't want anybody talking on my job sites at people or swearing. I have many, many stories from women who are in the industry that worked for me. And I can't get into the stories because they're so ridiculous, and some of them are, violent and just, really bad. I myself have experienced physical and other things. And actually on one of my job sites 3 years ago, I was approached by one of the contractors that was working for me, who had really done horrible on my job. And he came into my client's house with a hammer. And this is like the worst that it's gotten, a hammer, trying to get upstairs to destroy his work. And I had to stop him at the stairs. And I continued to tell him to move from the steps and to go down the steps. And, he was in my face. He was in my personal space. He had this hammer in his hand. Luckily for me, I did take 8 years of martial arts so I can defend myself. And I had to defend myself that day, unfortunately for him. But this is just one of the many sort of, I like swing kicked him down the stairs, but I had to because he was being super aggressive, right? And, but these are just one of this isn't even the worst story. And there are tons of stories. So, as an employer, that's just something I'm not willing to cut around at all on any level. I'm very clear about it. It's a part of my best practices and my policies within my company. And I can tell you that there are companies out there that are notable companies that I know that women have worked at where they have been physically and emotionally and verbally abused. And so the reason why I can speak to this, it's because it's happened to me, but also because, you're around a bunch of men every single day. and they're used to being a certain way. When I've had other guys come from other companies, they just can't believe, like, I'm nice, and of course I'm a little bit hardcore sometimes, but I don't swear at people. I'm not telling people that they're idiots. I'm not telling, like, some of the things that they say to both male and female, it's atrocious. And that's something, that wording, that nomenclature is something that needs to change overall in the industry. And we are far away from that, because if I have like a swear jar, it's, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty bad myself, but I don't talk at people. So it's definitely something
There's a
that
difference.
there is a difference.
There's a big difference.
You can drop a couple of F-bombs, but I mean, imagine going to work and somebody like telling you you're a piece of crap, or like, this is happening on these sites. And to me, I'm just like, this is not normal. I don't know who tried to normalize this, but I don't put up with it. And that's something that I speak to women about, because we also have to, in regards to readying women to get into these trades, we also have to ready them mentally, right? The mindset, being able to handle when, you know, a guy is like catcalling you, or being like, you did this, or, you know, let me get that for you. You shouldn't be carrying this. How do you handle them? How do you speak to them? How do you communicate that you're okay and you can lift something or you can do something? I've had women on my site, guys on my site, talk about women's menstrual stuff and complain about it. And I fired him immediately. It's just not something that I'm willing to put up with. And it's not because it's a woman that you're saying it to. It's because it's inappropriate on any level.
Yeah, no, you're making some great points, and I think we could talk stories all day. I've certainly had some pretty wild experiences myself over the years. And but you make a really great point, which takes me over to you, Beth, because I'm just gonna like change the question a little bit. Does your workplace do anything, or what does Hatch do to, or what have they done to integrate women into the workplace with the men? So is there any type of readiness work that's done with the males in the organization, or have been, over the transition to where Hatch is today? Maybe, or maybe just give us some examples of what type of policies you have around this in your workplace.
That's a really good question. I would say, okay, so I think it is just part of our culture. Our CEO is very supportive of bringing more women in. He understands the benefits to it. You know, I've heard him say, you know, if somebody is uncomfortable with this culture, then maybe Hatch isn't the right fit for them. So to me, it's a top-down mentality. If the leadership is believing in it, then everybody else will follow suit, and that just kind of sets the tone for what is expected at Hatch with women. I'm somewhat similar to Jessica. I haven't ever really felt some real harassment towards me, but you know, I've had the issues where I've walked into a room and, you know, I'm the only woman in the room and I've been asked to take meeting minutes and all that kind of stuff, which is, you know, kind of hurtful. I think everybody probably on the line's had that happen before. So, you know, that maybe that was more 10 years ago in my career, as Jessica was pointing out. I do feel a real change. But, you know, just to go to these policies and these workplace and safety policies, they're just absolutely crucial, I would say. If you want productive women in your workforce, I think if you don't have a zero tolerance policy, you're not going to get it. You're going to have women who are spending all of their time being concerned about their safety, and that's expanding energy on nonsense. Really, they should feel safe. I can say, Melissa, too, that we're really we're seeing our clients, particularly our mining clients, a lot of them in Australia have really done a lot of work around workplace safety and harassment, particularly at mine sites for women. So that's been really great to see. They're leading, some of our clients are leading the industry on that, and absolutely have those zero tolerance policies. So that's great to see that happening across the industries.
Thanks, Beth. That's really great. And you hit the nail on the head. Culture starts at the top. And works its way down. So I'm glad that you noted that, because I figured that you would, because obviously the culture at the top of your organization is great. I mean, very progressive, open-minded, and is living in 2023, quite frankly. So we're down to the last 10 minutes. So I just want to make sure that we take a look at some of the questions that are on here. So we have a question here from one of our guests that's listening in. Question is, most women in the skilled trades are in electrical jobs. Oh, sorry, that was from, oh no, this is a new one. Do you know why? Is it lack of awareness to other trades, or is it perceived as a safety, easy trade for them to get into? I'm not so sure there's an answer. I think it was answered a little earlier by Rebecca in a similar fashion, so we'll leave that one there. Just scrolling down through, because there's a few of them here. Actually, here's a great comment that I wanted to share from one of our guests that's with us today, who says, we often ask candidate and senior leadership interviews what diversity means to them. So those that are coming in to be in a senior role within an organization, to make it even tough, a scenario we asked them to respond to is if they were interviewing candidates for a position, and what they end up with the two top candidates, a male and a woman, who would they hire? You know, is there something out there that would make them choose one over the other? Varied responses they have, but it's not really fair to respond with one type of answer or another. That's really interesting. That question or that comment comes up, because I never really thought of it that way. So I am going to go back to a couple of the comments that I heard early on when we started, and these could kind of maybe be your closing remarks, but just things that I heard when we first started. So I'll start with you, Beth. I wrote down this statement that you said, and I just wanted you to expand a little bit more on it. And it was, I love watching women kill it. I found that as a really powerful statement, strong and actually empowering. So can you just stretch that out a little bit for me, because I really like that statement.
Sure. Well, what I really wanted to say was kick ass, but I wasn't sure if I was allowed to say that. I don't know. Maybe it's an inspiring thing. Maybe it's because I've felt the struggle a little bit, particularly in my early part of my career, that it was kind of a painful climb up that ladder. Again, going back to my statement earlier, there's just so much work to be done. And if we can't have everybody having an equal opportunity or an opportunity to help out in it, it's just never going to happen. So watching these women, take their career, take the responsibility for their career, help other women out, which is, to me, absolutely crucial. I love doing that. That's another part I love about my job. If anybody reaches out, needs career advice, personal advice, anything like that, I take so much satisfaction and pride in that. If we see other women doing that, maybe we feel inspired to do it. So I think that's really what it is. I just really like watching women succeed, and I think that's also partly because it's a little more difficult. We have a few more hurdles than perhaps men do. So watching them do it, sometimes I call them up. How'd you do it? This is amazing. How do you make this work? I just really, really enjoy it, and I'm hoping to see my daughter do the same thing, and many women before me or after me. Sorry. I think that's a good question. Thanks for that.
Thanks, Beth. Well, you're a rock star. I have a large sign hanging in, well, I had it hanging in my office. I'm moving into a new one. It will be there as well. So as soon as you walk into my office, it says, and we all have heard this, empowered women empower women, lift them up, don't
Absolutely.
knock them down. So
Yeah.
kudos to you. Great work that you're doing. So as an individual, by the way. So
Thank you. Thanks, Melissa. Same to you.
thanks so much. So Jessica, I'm looking at a couple of things I wrote down when you first came on. We've got a few minutes left, so well, quickly. You had said, and I hear this often, I didn't see anybody like me doing it, so didn't think you could do it. Could you expand a little on that? Because that is something that a lot of promotional organizations are doing today around the skilled trades. It's like if somebody could see themselves doing it, maybe they would be more attracted to it. So maybe you could just share a little bit about what you meant when you said that.
Yeah. So one of my favorite quotes is, "You can't be what you can't see." And that just rings so true for me personally. Like I said in my opening remarks, I'd never seen a person that looked like me doing what my dad did, so it didn't even cross my mind that I could do it. And you don't know what you don't know, right? So
Yeah.
once I got out there and I got my hands dirty, I was like, how did I not know that I enjoy doing this? That I can get paid to do this?
Yeah.
So definitely, I think we need to, if you are a woman in the trades right now, in the skilled trades in the field, and you're willing to put yourself out there, throw yourself on social media, let us see you. And I think the more women that we see, and we see them more every day there's a new one. The more we see, the more normal it's going to be. Like I said before as well, girls looking for careers, women looking to change their careers, boys and men seeing these women doing what they do. And also, it's important for parents to see me, what I do, because I think there's still that stigma around the skilled trades where I don't want my son or daughter to work in a dirty, dangerous, male-dominated industry. It's not like that anymore. The stereotypes are going out the window, and I think the more representation, the better.
Thanks, Jessica. That's a great statement. You can't be what you can't see. I really like that. We'll be calling on you again. You're going to hear from me in the future because you've got some great experiences, and I love the fact that when you were younger, though, you followed your dad around, and he was happy to have you doing that. So that's fantastic. Parents are huge influencers for their
Huge.
kids. So. Natasha, over to you. We've got 2 minutes left, so I'm going to give you the last couple of minutes. And I wanted to talk to you about, the influence of parents. So you talked a lot about, working with your dad when you were young. How do you think that shaped the person you are today in your role? Was there a lot of influence there? I know you went into communications, but you did end up coming back. I mean, I grew up on a farm. I went off to school and whatnot, but then here I am, been working in the trades for years, and I credit my dad with a lot of my morals and values that I have around skilled trades today. So, just curious from your perspective, last words. Could you tell us a little bit more about your experience with your dad and how that influenced you today?
Well, so my parents split up when I was about four or five. And so I lived in between homes. And so when my dad would pick me up, I was totally a daddy's girl, by the way. And so when he would pick me up, I didn't care where he was going. I was going with him, and that's all that mattered. And I think that it's kind of like etched in my mind. It created this sort of work ethic. Both of my parents had very strong work ethic. And whenever he had me on these sites, it was sometimes like he would pick me up after school, and then I would be out with him until 7, 8 o'clock. Like I would be in his van and just thinking to myself, like, I'm so bored or whatever, he'd bring me in. Some of the clients would give me cookies or whatever. What it taught me, how it influenced me was I became an ultimate tinkerer. So there's nothing I can't fix or find a way of fixing it or engineering it. And so he really just taught me about engineering. And even my dad, sometimes he builds stuff it's absolutely terrible and dangerous. But like, I don't know, he just has these when I'm like, Dad, you really gonna do it like that? Because this doesn't look safe. He's like, it's fine. But it really allowed me to be able to create like solutions for myself. Like I'm very solution driven because construction is all about coming up with solutions and fixes, because nothing ever goes perfect in construction, as pretty much all of you guys know on here. So that's what influenced me. I like problem solving and I like doing the work. Like if you had told me 5 years ago or 15 years ago when I was in high heels and whatever else, going from meeting to meeting, that I would be dirty. I did not look like this yesterday, by the way. And that's why I didn't have my camera on Monday, because I literally have to plan my hairstyles because I don't get dressed up and I go on site and I'm dirty. But I love it. I love when something is finished. I love to take I don't know, anything that's really difficult, I will jump into it head first and want to solve it and build it. So my dad was a huge influence for me. My mother was a huge influence for me, just based on work ethic. And now my work ethic now that I have has really pushed me to create something that it's very difficult. I don't suggest anybody just go out and run and start a construction company. It's not easy. But I've been taught adversity and how to move forward and how to problem solve, and that's all I do every day.
Well, thank you to all the panelists. Look, like I said, you guys are rock stars. This has been a really fantastic conversation. I could keep going on and on and on. We have a couple more panels ahead of us that I can't wait to hear what we're going to hear in those panels as well. It's going to be very exciting. Happy International Women's Day to all of you. And with that, I will hand it back over to Danielle. And thank you again, everyone.